Hello, and welcome to another edition of Random 5 Cars. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 random cars that happen to come in boxes. First off, we have a Schuco Land Rover Defender 90 in what they call a safari livery. We have a Para64 Mitsubishi Galant. This is a rally car. We have a Ruf CTR, which is obviously based on a Porsche 911. We have the RWB 993 RWBWU from tarmac-works, also based on a Porsche. And the Nissan Silvia S14 Rocket Bunny Boss Aero in the Need for Speed Heat livery. So to start, let's take a look at this Schuco Land Rover. I collect Land Rovers. I have quite a few of them now, including several of the Schuco versions of this casting. It's a fairly basic casting. There's not a whole lot of variation to the different versions. They're kind of just different colors, and other than that, there's not a lot of difference. The safari livery is the most interesting of the colors that it's available in. It's basically a zebra stripe pattern. As far as I know, this is not a factory option for the vehicle. This is something that is added by owners or, used in particular scenarios because it looks cool, I guess. I don't know. So Schucos are, a good premium model. Inserted details for headlights, painted detail on the rear for taillights and other indicators. You have the Land Rover badging, nice spare tire. It's a rubber spare tire. It's metal body, metal base, rubber tires, of course. They roll, which is always a nice thing. This to focus. The interior on the Schuco, I don't know if we can see this at all. It's actually pretty tough to see in there. It does seem to have a decent interior, though I can't really say much about it. I don't know. Overall, it's a good, solid premium diecast. Nothing really to complain about. Next up, we have the Mitsubishi Galant rally car. This car raced in the 1989 RAC Rally, which is in the UK. It took first place, raced through 55 stages for 603 kilometers, and finished in 6 hours and 19 minutes and 22 seconds. The second place car was a Toyota Celica, driven by Carlos Sainz and Luis Moya. And Carlos Sainz is the father of Carlos Sainz Jr., who is a Ferrari F1 driver currently. Their time was 6 hours and 20 minutes and 50 seconds. This particular car was driven by Pentti Erikala, and Mikhail Eriksson was his co-driver. As I mentioned, they won the race. This model is from Para64, which is, I believe, a Chinese brand. But it's pretty nice model, fairly detailed. From what I can tell, the livery that's on it is quite accurate in comparison with photos of the actual car. And I'm a big fan of race cars, and for me, when the liveries, like realistic liveries, are what it's all about. Fictional liveries are fun and they're cool, I guess, but when a company goes to the extra extent to license all the the logos for all the sponsors and puts them in the right place and with the right colors and all of those kind of things. That to me is a huge win. And this model seems to do a pretty good job. As a basic die-cast car, it does have inserted details for headlights, fairly detailed front end, and inserted details for taillights. You have a roll cage in the interior. It looks like you only have, I don't know if you can see in there, it looks like there's no rear seat, which you would expect in a rally car. There are no seat belts or anything on the seats themselves. There is a decent looking steering wheel in there. But I'm not sure why I really picked up this model. At the point when I picked it up, I didn't really know anything about it. I guess just because it looked like a nice livery, and I wanted to sample this Para64 brand. Although we do have two, I also have this one as well. And I'm actually fairly impressed with this. They're not super expensive, and they seem to be quite nice quality, and they do roll. Not super great rollers, but they do roll. Next up, let's take a look at this Nissan Silvia from Inno64. This is not the box that it actually comes in. It actually comes in this box, and then this is inside. But you get a nice display case with this one. This car is a promotional car for the Need for Speed Heat game. It is based on a real car. And Rocket Bunny is a body kit manufacturer. Or actually, it's not a body kit manufacturer, it's actually just a style of body kit. And I believe it's the same as Pandem, or at least from the same company that does Pandem, which is a very common body kit. So it's the same as, or similar to a Pandem or a Liberty Walk type of body kit. And just like those other body kits, it originated in Japan. But you can get it in the US under the Pandem name. So Inno64 seems to be quite nice models. They do not roll. The rear wheels on this one turn, but the front wheels don't move at all. Again, inserted details for the headlights. Very, very nice grille. And even inserted details for the indicator lights here. On the rear, you have inserted details for the tail lights, and then the rear bumper area has been completely removed, and this is the way it is on the real car, which is, it's just an interesting artifact of the way they're doing these cars, I guess. This is another model that I kind of picked up because I just wanted to sample the Inno64 brand. Thought it looked cool, and I think it is a very nice model. Not a whole lot to see on the base. It's screwed together. I think it's a plastic base, metal body plastic base. So it's a very cool model. Next, let's take a look at this RWB Porsche from tarmac-works. This is part of their Hobby 64 line. So these are the more premium models in their line. They have the Global 64 line, which is supposedly a little bit lower end release. These are limited editions. These also do not roll, and they're purely a display piece. So RWB itself stands for Rauweltbegriff, which I'm sure I butchered, which is German for rough world concept. And you would expect that RWB would be a German company that customizes Porsches, but it's actually based in Japan and originated in Japan. And it's more akin to the Pandoms and Liberty Walks of the world than it is to, the other type of custom or Porsche tuners like Ruf, like this one. Although RWB does tune the cars as well, their body kits are very, well, kind of realistically, let's say over the top. They have these super wide rear ends, and I think this is a little bit of an unrealistic aspect of this model, is that I believe these tires would probably be quite a bit wider in reality, especially if this was an actual race version of the car. Apparently RWB is a little bit of a controversial tuner in the Porsche world because their body kits are a little bit gaudy looking, I guess you could say, and they take away, oops, I dropped the thing. They take away a little bit from the clean lines of the car, because these are, Porsches are, at least in my opinion, are absolutely beautiful cars. These are cool though. I've always thought these were pretty cool looking cars, especially the ones that are actual race cars. This one has a license plate on it. You can focus on that, maybe zoom in a little. California. Interesting. So this one is apparently not just a race car, but apparently street legal in the US, maybe. Interesting. That these tarmac-works models are, of course, very detailed. Inserted details for the headlights, inserted details for the taillights and indicators. I think this is a plastic base and metal body. And the interior, actually the interior is quite detailed. There's a roll cage in there. Seat belts you can see with, maybe you can see, maybe not. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see in there, but the seat belts actually have buckles on them, and you can see like the branding on the seat belts themselves, and in the base of the seat you can see the connection point for a, looks like a 6-point harness. So definitely a step up. Looks like separate pieces for the windshield wipers, and little inserts on the mirrors, and exhausts. But again, these do not roll. The front wheels turn, but again, the rear wheels do nothing. This doesn't have the clean lines and elegance of a typical Porsche, but it has that kind of brute force look to it, which makes it still a very cool car. Next up we have the Ruf CTR, and Ruf is an interesting brand. The company actually started out in 1939 as a I guess it's like a garage, just for early fixing cars, and they started tuning Porsches in 1977. And this particular model is basically their own car. It's based on the Porsche, and many were converted from customer Porsches, but they also built 29 of these from scratch. They may have gotten a chassis or something from Porsche, but the car itself was a from scratch built thing. They still build a version, or they're on the CTR 3 now, so there is an evolved version of this car that's still available now. Ruf is also now owned by Porsche directly, so they are a division of Porsche, and they still build entirely custom versions of Porsche models. They'll get maybe a rolling chassis from Porsche and then add their own take on that. So this one is the CTR Yellowbird. I believe if we look at the back of the boxes, nope, that's the wrong one. It's this one. The Ruf CTR Yellowbird from 1987 in Blossom Yellow. The original CTR was built from 1987 to 1996, and of the versions of the CTR compared to the CTR 2 and the CTR 3, I think this one is by far the coolest. It just has that, it's maintained more of the classic Porsche look. And I mean, really, if you didn't know better, this doesn't look dramatically different than the actual Porsches of the period, but under the hood, it's a very different beast. The car had a 3.4 liter twin turbo flat six, and it produced 463 horsepower and 408 pound-foot of torque. At the time, this was the fastest road legal car available, with a top speed of 211 miles per hour, which is absolutely astonishing for for a road car at that time. Now you have many hypercars that have much higher top speeds, but in my opinion, I don't think any of them are as beautiful as these cars were. I think actually most of the modern hypercars are kind of hideous in a lot of ways, but this is a very cool model. This is another Para64. Again, inserted details for the headlights, inserted details for the tail lights, although it's all one color, which that may be the way it is on the real car. Indicators on the side. The interior looks fairly basic on the interior. There is a steering wheel in there that looks pretty good. It seems to be a plastic base. I don't know. For me, overall, I think this is just a beautiful car. But I'm a huge fan of Porsches. So, all right. Well, that's our random 5 cars. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.